Hey guys, Big Daddy Liberty coming to you from a very secret location. Wouldn't you want to know where exactly I am? No, I'm just joking. I'm in the Western Cape. But, yeah, sorry. I thought I'd make that very secretive. And y'all are like, "Where are you?" And then I'm like, "Guess." And then I'm like, anyway, I've got a special guest with me today, a young chap who I think you guys really need to be paying close attention to. Sharp, liberty-minded individual, and someone who started a very popular platform here in South Africa called The Rational Standard. That's right, The Rational Standard, which you can find at www.rationalstandard.co.za.
.com.
There you go, international when hey man. And just as I said, a sharp chap, born out of that sort of Cape Town League of liberty-minded individuals, but someone who I really want you guys to hear from. Of course, I'm talking about Mr. Nick. Nick, I always cross your surname with Babaya, who I also have on the show, by the way. Your surname again, Nick, is?
Woode-Smith.
Woode-Smith, there we go. Generally English surname in that regard. Nick, let's have a quick chat. We have been together for a while now, insofar as just, at a seminar where we've been exchanging ideas. You wrote a piece recently, a very nice, interesting piece, and as he does many other pieces, you'll find them on The Rational Standard, where you spoke of essentially the spectre, indirectly, the spectre of people leaving and staying in South Africa, which, you wrote it a while back, but it's become quite topical right now, given the recent I'm Staying hashtag and Facebook group on social media. There's a large conversation being had at the moment around, should I be staying in South Africa or should I be leaving? Your thoughts on generally some of the push factors that push people away, and talk to me about the piece itself.
So the piece itself is called Why Be Proudly South African? And it links into this big thing of this hashtag I'm Staying group, which is trying to be what I feel unrealistically optimistic about the state of this country. The piece effectively starts as saying, if you're reading this looking for reasons to hope, I'm going to disappoint you. I try to put in some reasons to hope at the end, but most of it is stuff that we really need to do, and it's very hard in order to actually save this country. But most of it is just reasons to be upset. So on your question of what's pushing people away, it's crime, it's the political state, it's the corruption, it's the hopelessness. It's this idea that our property is, if it's not taken by a faceless individual who's hopefully won't murder you in the night while he's taking it, it's going to be taken by the very much faced Cyril Ramaphosa, who's got this legislative authority.
Sorry, I was going to interject very quickly just to make the salient point that that's the threat that most South Africans are facing, aren't they? It's obviously the faceless, nameless criminal who could mug you or, okay, two steps back. It's South Africans are facing an assault on life, liberty and property, broadly speaking. And the attacks happen, of course, by the everyday criminal who's mugging you on the streets. But, of course, the high-end criminal, the one who's found in government. And you mentioned Cyril Ramaphosa. The policy environment we're facing right now, Nick, I'm going to play the devil's advocate here and be the lefty, as I've sort of come accustomed to playing this fictitious role on the show. Nick, no, you're wrong, Nick. We don't have a socialist society. In fact, we should be building a socialist society, because at least if you have a socialist society, you can create equality and give people food, lodging, and essentially be able to control for those bad variables that make people poor. We need a socialist society. How would you respond to that, Nick?
I would say, let's assume that the socialism that you're going to enact, you can actually enact it. Let's assume that you have the power to actually make a society, to implement a socialist society. So yes, we're all going to be equal, but equally without property rights, equally without wealth, and I think the equality which is inherent in socialism is zero. And of course, though, it's not even that, that's me being favorable towards socialism. What ends up actually happening is that an elite at the top takes everything with the promise to the populace that it's going to be redistributed, and that's just to keep to say it rudely, this is how politicians view the voting public. They view them as the peasants that they basically just have to keep happy through bread and games, and through that they promise them, we're going to give you wealth, we're going to give you land, and with that promise they just start taking stuff to enrich themselves. Socialism doesn't work for a large variety of reasons. There are many books written on it, but I would say that simply for South African context, our government can't do the simplest of things right. They can't do the essential thing of effectively keeping a murderer behind bars. Do you really think they can do something that some of the most advanced countries in the world have failed to do? That China, which is arguably the birthplace of civilization, can't get communism right and can't get socialism right, and do you think that South Africa can get it right?
Nick, as we move towards the tail end of this conversation, the final question I'll put to you, of course, playing this devil's advocate's view of the left, is, yeah, but Nick, you talk about these politicians who steal from the poor, but capital steals from the poor. The heavy industries, the captains of industry are the sort of very thieves who are stealing from the poor. In fact, they're being rich is because they are stealing from ordinary people like you and me, and they become these fat cats. Don't say anything. They become these fat cats who steal from poor people. We're here to protect the vanguard of the poor. We're here to protect poor people against people like you, the capitalists.
I think it's this huge myth that capitalism is something that belongs to just that industrialist, the fat cat with the top hat. In truth, everyone's a capitalist. Unless you're stealing from someone through legislative means, you are a capitalist. If you're going to work and you are working in a consensual environment to earn money through grit and through labor, you are a capitalist. And the big thing is that a proper capitalist is not making their money through theft. They're making their money through making people happy somewhere along the way. Even if something as dull as someone who just produces bread, that is keeping someone fed, which you need to be fed if you want to be happy in the long run. But even things like people who are Microsoft. So Bill Gates, who was one of the richest people in the world, he's created a platform that has made the world happy and has made the world productive. And I think he's earned that money. If there's an apparent capitalist who has stolen money, he's not a capitalist, he's a politician.
Absolutely, yeah, to that. Nick, final word on your front. Punt your social medias. How can people reach you, and where can people read your stuff?
So rationalstandard.com is the best place to read my non-fiction articles. You can follow me on Facebook, just search for Nicholas Woode-Smith. My surname is the weird part. It's Wood with an E, then hyphen Smith.
I'll put that information on the screen, of course.
And then on my Twitter is Zaggeta, Zaggeta. I don't use it much though, so don't expect much.
Because it is such a swamp, isn't it?
It is, completely.
Nick, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for watching as I provide these short little snippets of thinkers who I think you need to be listening to. Guys, you've been watching The Big Liberty Show. I'll see you on the next one.